Hi there, Cosmic Family. My name is Leal, and I am here today to talk about the full moon in Taurus that we are going to have on November 5th in the degree 13 with 22 minutes of Taurus. People that have planets in fixed signs, which are Aquarius, Leo, Scorpio, Taurus. They are going to feel this with more strength or ascendant that includes this mathematical degree because they are receiving tensions or conjunctions if you have planets in Taurus. But also, last degrees of cardinal signs are very, very active because, well, I'm going to explain this in a minute. For everyone, it is about looking at the house where we have the 13th degree of Taurus. There is where, the things are happening. So, full moons, we feel them even 1 week before with 1 week of anticipation, and they are phases of revelation, of illumination, where we can turn ourselves aware of aspects of our reality and what they are showing to us. And these events are also culminating cycles. We are closing in here what began with the new moon in Taurus of April 2025, and that new moon was given with a lot of tensions with Mars in Leo and Pluto in Aquarius at that moment. So that was linked with, topics related to power, control, and facing fears that right now we are closing. But, before talking of the aspects, I wanted to remind you what is this energy about. Taurus is the sign that symbolizes the material reality itself, from our physical body to spaces, especially the ones that we are relating with something that brings stability. It could be our home, could be the space where we are working. A relationship could also be something that we associate with stability, also a way of generating resources. Taurus represents the value that we are giving to ourselves and the things that we value. And also the resources that are not material, but that we can contribute as a knowledge, an ability, these kind of things. So topics linked with economy and terrestrial movements, climatic change, resources of the earth are also included. And Taurus is an energy that is like described in astrology as very, very slow. It is a fixed sign of earth, but truly it is not slow. It is an organic rhythm. It is the one that is required to give form to the processes in the matter. And for example, we cannot accelerate pregnancy because the baby will not be fully developed. We cannot take a cake before the time of the oven because it is going to be uncooked. So in its high vibration, Taurus is to do whatever thing we have to do to work in that with consistency, respecting the times that requires. Now, in its shadow, yes, it could be resistance to change. So with Uranus going through here since 2019, this zone of our natal chart has been completely shaped by these Uranian lightnings. From symbolic things, and also we can see it in our planet, in the earthquakes and the things that are happening in that level. So right now Uranus is in Gemini, retrograde in Gemini, and 2 days after of this lunation on November 7th, it is coming back to Taurus to close the cycle. And beyond that, this week the many personal planets are going to activate Uranus. Therefore, this is about opening ourselves to things taking different directions from the ones that we expected. And something important, because I saw this in many people these days, Taurus rules the throat chakra, especially, and the physical body in general. Therefore, imbalances that could be manifested in the physical body, they are speaking to us of things that we need to regulate, to attend emotional processes, decisions, etc. Okay, let's go with the aspects. Sun is in Scorpio. We cannot have a full moon in Taurus without Sun in Scorpio, and Sun and Moon are creating trines and sextiles with the North Node in Pisces and the South Node in Virgo, the lunar nodes. This indicates that there could be manifestations of decisions that are a key. that are proposing us a path of evolution and growth with all the things that involves, like dealing with uncertainty and learning to trust in those decisions, to leave behind a pattern, an old pattern that was creating limitations. And this energy, because they are harmonic aspects, are accompanying plenty to do those choices that could impulse these new directions. New directions are not necessarily things that we are starting right now, but for example, could be a dynamic that we let go of. With the South Node in Virgo, could be linked with stopping offering help to other people from the denial of what we truly need, from the denial or the repression of the voice of the soul, what the voice of the soul is indicating. This is very linked because, South Node in Virgo is related to service. And this time, deciding to focus in other aspects of our lives that can contribute with that inner unity, and in that process, discovering how to contribute with other people without draining ourselves in the process. This could be an example, but in other cases, we are talking about more decisive things. And beyond, Mercury is about to be retrograde in, all the things that we haven't been experimented since the past new moon on October 21st. All of this is going to be reevaluated. The moment of decision, it is marked by our inner side. This means that we have to make this register of when we are procrastinating something, for example, or on the contrary, that we are acting in a very impulsive way. And this last one, the impulsivity, it is not something linked with Taurus, but it is linked with Mars. And Mars in this lunation, it is going to be in Sagittarius, in a sign of fire, in opposition with Uranus. But we are going to talk about this aspect in a minute. First of all, we are going to focus in Venus because it is the ruler of the event. And something very curious, it is that Venus, that right now is in Libra, by that moment is going to be in the same mathematical degree, the degree 28, where the past new moon was gestated, again, October 21st, making exactly the same aspects. There are several tensions. And for that reason, yesterday I mentioned briefly that the way that we are giving value to ourselves and how we are respecting or not our basic values are, all of those things are being reflected, especially in relational dynamics. Our imbalances, our inner imbalances, are going to be projected, especially in what happens in relationships of every kind. And well, right now, by that moment, Venus in Libra is going to repeat all of those aspects. A new moon is a moment of beginning, but this lunation, it is telling us, which is a culmination, it is telling us it is time to close this thing, it is time to integrate this thing so you can move to the next phase. So Venus in Libra is creating a square with Jupiter in Cancer, opposition with Chiron retrograde in Aries, and activating already a square with Pluto in Aquarius that is going to be perfected when Venus moves to Scorpio, but we are going to feel it before. So traducing these aspects are inviting us to look especially to those dynamics that are activating these wounds of not feeling valued, the anger, the sensation of injustice, the sensation that we are not enough. Wait a minute. And how many times we can stay in spaces demanding other people to give us something specific, or seeing us or giving value to us according to the expectations that we have, when perhaps the most genuine way of re-equilibrating or rebalancing ourselves is to look at ourselves. And even if this could be painful, recognizing when we are choosing to bonding with other people from wanting them to repair our primary pain when it is not their responsibility. Because Chiron are these repetitive, painful experiences that are going to be manifested along our incarnation, and that, they could unfold this talent in us to help other people. But first, we have to face that, because when we are trying to run from the pain, the conditioning is perpetuated. And even if we, there are people that are dealing perhaps with other, I am mixing the languages, with other people that are perhaps invalidating them in emotional aspects, or that they are like removing constantly that wound, but not from a space where they are trying to transcend the dynamic. Of course, we don't have the responsibility of the imbalances of other person, but we have the responsibility to stay there, to allow. So we could get angry with people that are behaving in selfish ways, but there is a degree of selfishness too, and also of seeking of the other, giving us the love that we need, or the love that we needed when we were children, when we were kids. When we are demanding to these people to be different so they can fit in the mold that we are having, and they can fit in our desires. And demanding, this is important to not confuse this thing. Demanding, it is not to communicate an emotional need or talking about what could make the relationship work. Demanding is to having communicated that, and if the other person is not responding as we are desiring, we get angry and we manipulate, etc. That is, Pluto in the square with Pluto in Aquarius. So I'm saying this because the other polarity is to tolerate, to tolerate what is not making us feel good, not establishing boundaries, not respecting our basic values, not expressing disagreement, or giving to other people until we are losing ourselves, to not create conflict. So the people are not going away, and it is the same wound of abandonment or rejection. So with a Jupiter in Cancer and a Mercury about to be retrograde, could emerge, topics and people of the past. And we cannot, talk in general, because of course every case is particular, but in the cases that internally, that there are people or relationships in which you cannot grow, and there is still that desire of returning to those places, that is an invitation to this introspection. Because if we are still feeling attracted to a space where we cannot grow, where there is no reciprocity, and in the end we are not going to feel okay, and we are not going to make good to the other person, well, in some cases that could be happening because of the fear of being alone, of facing the emotional process that is being proposed right now, and the mechanism of escaping towards those relationships that can save us from having to deal with that is activated. But that is an illusion, because in the end, life always shows us what we have to see in order to generate bonds and to relate with other people from places in which we can really give value to ourselves, and we can give value to other people. So for others, this could be linked with relationships in which there are dynamics that even though they are limitant, they are remitting to something familiar, something that was experimented in your home, or literally this could be members of the family, and the person is sustaining that because it is what the person knows. But because it is what we know doesn't mean that we don't have other chances, other opportunities, or that we cannot choose differently. And well, in other cases, could be wanting to experiment these states of plenitude and freedom, more linked with Mars and Uranus, that are generating this rejection to the lessons that are helping us actually to develop these things in us. And it is about wanting to free ourselves from something by avoiding dealing with the circumstances that we need to face. So with the Sun in Scorpio, this is about allowing the death of the perception, of the situation, of the experience that right now it is pushing us away from connecting with life. And well, Venus in Libra, again, repeating the same thing of the new moon in Libra, is creating the finger of God, the Yod, doing this in conjunctions, this quincunxes with Saturn retrograde, Neptune retrograde in Pisces, Uranus retrograde in Gemini. So excessive doubt, which is not this healthy questioning that we can do with ourselves. Excessive doubt, the mechanisms of escapism, the confusion because there is a resistance to listen what we intuitively know. There is a resistance to listen to ourselves. The mind overcharged of mental focuses, very different ones, which could be linked with Uranus in Gemini, could be ways of avoiding to commit with a choice, or with it is needed right now to be rebalanced from the inside. I am referring in those situations when perhaps people are expecting for the things on the outside to be fitting their expectations, to be in peace, when perhaps it is not among their control, and the peace is actually acceptance or surrendering. So the last transit that I'm going to talk today, it is Mars in Sagittarius. That is going to be in the degree 0 in opposition with Uranus retrograde in Gemini, and also in a sextile with Pluto in Aquarius. So also remember that this week Mercury is going to do the same. So these are going to be very Uranian days, in the sense that these sudden revelations are coming that are reconfiguring what we conceived about reality or situations, and or perhaps for other people it is about communicating or acting in something, taking action on something that they know that is going to bring a radical breaking. But it is important that this can emerge from this impulse of creating genuine changes, dealing with the uncertainty in a situation, or practicing to flexibilize with what life is proposing. Even, if we could experiment this a little bit chaotic, changes of plans, and because, well, that is encouraging ourselves to live in the freedom of the soul. And because these changes could awaken new resources, which is Taurus, that we didn't realize we have. So I am saying this because there is a shadow version in this, and it is wanting like the freedom by demanding that freedom on the outside, revealing against situations, but in a very immature way, or taking impulsive decisions that later have an impact that we didn't expect. And this includes, in the collective level, like manifesting against institutions or dogmas, whether these are, political, ideological, or religious, talking about Sagittarius, demanding what they never wanted to give, or they don't want to give, about the institutions and the axis of power. And I am remarking this because this energy has this great creative potential, and we could be in contact with ideas that are coming as a download to put in practice. Also could be, radical cuts in a situation, because that was also implying stagnation and a limitation to be authentic, to reveal what our root of the soul came here to reveal. But, perhaps this implies in certain moments being a little bit disruptive, or dealing with other people not accepting who we are. Not because we are against something, or because we are fighting against someone, but because being generators of change in times where we are breaking with old paradigms could be sharing ideas or forms in which we see a reality that not all the people are going to be in agreement with. But at the same time, we could be open to the exchange and to those opposite opinions too. So I'm going to end this video here today. Thank you, everyone. See you in the next one. Ciao, ciao.